Hey, I'm here at Circle Square Bistro with Chef Tyler Reiner. I've got the chance to try your food before, but I've never had a chance to see you actually cook it. So I'm excited to see that. So where are we going to start?
Well, we on our menu we have a dish that has actually become a mainstay, and it has actually been on the menu since day one,
Wow.
and it is a lion's mane gratin. The gratin being a gluten-free companion of breadcrumb that I use. So we take the lion's mane, I shred it, I roast it, and then I finish it in a little souffle cup. We serve it with a little side salad and some crostinis. Really super simple.
Very few chefs are actually utilizing lion's mane. I mean, people are becoming more familiar about lion's mane's medicinal properties and how it's good for your nerves and your brain and stuff like that. People are taking supplements, but people don't realize that lion's mane is actually a really delicious mushroom. Why do you think that other chefs shy away from using it in their recipes more?
I can speak for myself since our menu is more of a focused menu and we have a smaller amount of dishes on the menu, and we are a more focused restaurant where we wax and wane with the seasons, and so our menu always changes. So a product like lion's mane makes more sense because I don't need high volume of it. And I feel whenever you are using high volume of a specialty like lion's mane, it's harder to manipulate and it's harder to um, use it
Right,
on that scale.
right. Well, I mean, I know that it's a little bit more tricky to work with than your average just oyster mushroom or button mushroom, cremini or whatever. I mean, it does take a little bit more care,
Mm-hmm.
but not a great deal more,
Right.
right?
Right. And anything new sometimes takes a little bit of time, but I like to use weird things, and I would consider lion's mane to be real unique and really, I don't know, it reminds me of myself a little bit.
I like that. It's fuzzy.
It's fuzzy. When I receive your mushrooms weekly, oh, it comes in like this, and so I'll shred it, and then I'll roast it just with a little olive oil. I use about 300 degree oven because I feel like if you roast at a higher heat with this mushroom in particular, it dries out. So what I do is I'll roast it, I'll cool it, and then I'll hold it, and then I finish a dish on the minute. And that way it will still reserve a plumpness of the mushroom. If I were to saute it a la minute, it would lose some moisture, but I'm, I'm heating it up essentially.
So how far in advance can you prepare this and still have it, fresh enough to serve to order?
Well, our week starts on Thursday. I receive mushrooms from you directly on Wednesday. Wednesday is my prep day. I'll shred them on Wednesday. I'll roast it, and I'm good to go for Thursday.
Excellent.
So the day before,
So walk us through the process here. What happens first?
the olive oil. So I usually do about a medium high heat. Again, we're just warming it up essentially. And olive oil is mainly for a friction because I'll finish it with a different sauce at the end. And then I'm using Companion Bakery's gluten-free sourdough bread, which I convert to a breadcrumb. And the reason why I use a gluten-free breadcrumb is because it'd be easier to make that alteration. Like I don't have to make any alterations. If anybody comes in here and they are gluten averse or celiac, or they just don't want it, and so it's easier to make the dish itself gluten-free. Even though I do serve it with a sourdough crostini, otherwise, it's easier to make things more streamlined and cleaner, and then that way I'm able to make modifications in other ways. A little bit kosher salt, and then I'll finish this with a little bit of chopped herb, and then really extremely simple. Cooking is extremely simple. It can be as complicated as we make it, but we are sustaining ourselves with food, and so sometimes simple is better. A little bit more kosher salt, and then I make a Meyer lemon dressing in house, and so we'll just a little squirt here, and then a little bit more of the breadcrumb on top. And then because I have such a small kitchen, I don't have a salamander or a broiler, so I cheat a little bit.
Brulee it a little bit, huh?
Yeah, just to melt down that sauce all the way down through it. And then to plate it, it's a really simple plate. Right now, our seasonal vinaigrette is a Georgia Jet sweet potato and carrot tarragon with pear vinegar and local olive oil. So just put a bit on our herb salad. I believe that everyone needs a little bit microgreens in their life. So there's a little bit of that. And then, we serve that with some crostinis and it's ready to go.
This is a pretty popular dish, huh?
This is one of our most sold dishes.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we'll just do a few. I like to do 3. It encourages sharing. Communal eating is really important to me, because here it's really neat because we experience people meeting other people that they would otherwise not have the chance to, and that's why we really preach communal eating and sharing, and not to make it a personal, secretive action of eating on your own entree, you know, because I feel better when I share food. Nothing crazy with the crostini, just warm it up, finish it with a little sea salt, and we're good to go.
So is this crostini gluten free?
This one is not, but
Okay.
we do have. I would say most of the time we have a gluten-free sourdough bread available. And other than our sourdough bread, everything else on our menu by default is gluten-free.
Is that right?
It is. And dairy-free, I usually use, when I use butter, it's on the menu, has butter or has cream, but very little dairy, again, to make it inclusive,
Right.
because I really wanted to have a place where everyone could come and celebrate a special occasion or even just an everyday meal. because a lot of people feel, I don't want to use the word ostracized, but a lot of people don't feel welcome or safe in a lot of restaurants because of allergies or just because they might have a aversion to something.
Right.
And we do what we can when we can. If you have a modification, we are happy to meet that as long as it's reasonable.
Sure.
But when it comes to food, I feel that we need to meet people where they are. And if you have an allergy, I'm going to take you seriously.
So, tell me about your kids' menu.
So our kids menu is actually the same as our regular menu. We decided to not have a kids menu because we really wanted to allow families to help their kids explore new foods, new flavors, new textures. And that being said, whenever I see a family come in, I'll fire some fruit. I'll have something available. If you have a really picky eater, we can figure something out. But I learned how to eat when I was a child, and I'm sure most other people also learn how to eat when they're children.
Right.
But a lot of things I was not exposed to until I was an adult. So I feel that food education is really important when you're younger, and it's healthier. So that's why we really wanted to just allow families to come in and share. Have something new, have something fun. You remember when I was 7 and I had that snail at that weird restaurant in Corralitos? And we want to create core memories for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of gets back to that inclusive thing, right? Of people sharing their food and eating things together.
Exactly.
I love that. I think that's a great philosophy.
Yeah. Almost everything that we do has a rhyme and a reason to it. We're really focused on intuitional cooking, intentionality as well. So we went into this really with the idea of a plant forward, just because one, it's responsible, two, it's sustainable, but three, the cost of protein is astronomical.
Yeah.
And so, because of where we are in Corralitos, we are surrounded by phenomenal local organic farms, orchards, berries. Like, a lot is happening here. Incredible breweries and cider houses. In fact, the apples on the trees are behind us are actually used in Santa Cruz Cider Company, in Tanuki Cider as well. And so we're in it, and I would rather be in the midst of the food than having a restaurant in a city setting, and I'm having it driven to me. So when I was looking for vendors, I I wanted to source my food from non third party vendors as much as possible. I mean, sometimes we have to, but with mushrooms, I wanted to find a source that, one, held values that reflected my own values, but two, was consistent. Three, they were beautiful mushrooms and delicious mushrooms. And I looked around, and you know, I found Santa Cruz mushroom on Instagram one day, and I think I might have found a really cool place. So my wife and I, we had a very rare opportunity to have a morning date, and so we set up an appointment with you, and we went to your farm, and you very graciously took us in the back and showed us your grow operations, and we ended up staying there in almost an hour, just chit chatting with you and your wife, and we're all right. I don't have to look for mushrooms anymore. So we had a really quick conversation about how you did things and how you sell them by a chef's mix, and And I asked you, well, would you consider selling a one variety? Because I knew that I wanted lion's mane like as a main component of my menu. I just wasn't sure how yet, but knowing that you grew them and that I could get them fresh when they were still white, because like a lot of times in grocery stores they start to get like this yellow hue to it. This here is nothing like what we would find in the store. Like the whole thing would be yellow, and so and that has to do with time abuse and being shipped and driven hundreds of miles and then being out in air and then in refrigeration back outside. And so I wanted to find a mushroom grower who handled all that, like sales and growing.
So you've had a good experience so far, it sounds like.
I would say so.
Thanks, Chef. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Any last thing that you want to just people to know about Circle and Square?
So Circle and Square is a all-inclusive restaurant. Come as you are. We really focus on seasonal food. I change our menu weekly. I would say probably about 50% of it changes. Um, but that being said, being plant forward, we are a great stop for vegan, vegetarian, omnivores. When I designed my menu, I came up with an algorithm where you could have a group of 6 people and all 6 people could find something on the menu, but not just one item as a pasta dish or a salad. I designed it so that everyone, despite how they eat, could have a starter, something different, an entree, and a dessert.